We are reading from the Gospel of Luke. It's page 75 in your pew Bibles. Page 75. Pull it right out there. Put it on your lap and read along with me. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen, and who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who longed to satisfy his hunger with what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs would come and lick his sores. The poor man died and was carried away by the angels to be with Abraham, and the rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was being tormented, he looked up and he saw Abraham far away with Lazarus at his side. And he called out, "Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames." But Abraham said, "Child, remember that during your lifetime you received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. Besides all this, between you and us is a great chasm that has been fixed, so that those who might want to pass from here to you cannot do so, and no one can cross from there to us." He said then, "Father, I beg you to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may warn them, so that they will not also come into this place of torment." And Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets. They should listen to them." And he said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent." And he said to him, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead." Thus ends the reading of the word. Thank you, God. You know, the only people who could wear purple in any place that was occupied by the Romans were either people of royal blood or royal relationships, the very, very rich, and only at certain times and only a certain amount because it was so expensive. So it was a sign of royalty if you wore purple. Now, this story today, let's just remember where we are, okay? Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and his face is set. And he is about 2 days out of Jerusalem. And we know what's going to happen when he gets there. Things are escalating. Jesus' parables are escalating in their content. He has been in the company of Pharisees, tax collectors, and sinners, according to Luke's gospel. Nothing has changed in the past 2 chapters. He's still in the company of the Pharisees and the scribes and the sinners and his disciples, all gathered around listening to him. Even though there are commentators who are trying to tell me to separate who he's talking to in chapter 16, I still think he's talking to everybody. The tax collectors, the sinners, the disciples, and the Pharisees who are overhearing what he's talking about. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, chapter 16, I could take those 2 parables and do an entire 6-week Bible study just on those 2 parables. I didn't tackle the first part of chapter 16 last week because I really wanted to run away screaming from it. So he hit me with a harder one this week. Both parables, the parable in the beginning of chapter 16 and the parable at the end, are about money, we think. We think it's about money. Some people think it's about who's going to heaven and who's going to hell. Some people think that this parable isn't talking to them because we're not rich and we don't all wear purple. And all we can picture when we hear this story is some King Henry VIII looking character sitting at a table with a giant drumstick in his mouth, just globbing grease and everything down his front all over the purple robe and his beard. That's what we picture. And we picture the man outside his gate as this skinny, scrawny, sunken-eyed man who is on the verge of death. Like people we've seen in the streets. And we say, well, that rich man isn't me, and that person in the street isn't me, so how could this story have anything whatsoever to do with me? I think I'll just leave. Some people, when they hear the story, want to run screaming from the sanctuary because they have no way to figure out what the heck Jesus is talking about. I don't want Jesus to tell me that I can't be prosperous. I don't want Jesus to tell me that I need to be giving away everything that I have. I don't want to hear that. Well, I'm going to rescue a little bit. I'm going to rescue you just slightly. I'm going to tell you that's not what this parable is about. Jesus is not talking about heaven and hell, and he's not talking about rich people and poor people. Jesus is talking to a group of people that resist his teaching. He is talking to people who are scoffing at what he has been teaching. Now, the parables that he has been talking about over the past 2 chapters are parables about God and God's love and who God is and kingdom behavior, how we're supposed to behave as people of God's kingdom. He's talked about a God who loves us so much, a God that is like a shepherd who would go out after a lost sheep, leaving the other 99 and put that lost sheep on his shoulder and bring him home, and not punish him or scold him for running away, but give him a party. He talks about a God who loves us so much, like a woman who had 10 coins and who lost one of the coins and went looking for it, and when she found it, threw a glorious party and invited all of her friends. He talks about a God who is about banquets and about love and about inviting absolutely everybody to the banquet. He talks about a man who had 2 sons, an older son and a younger son. And one son went away and the other one stayed by his side. And when the one younger son comes back in rags and tattered and torn and bruised and beaten, and having failed at whatever he tried to do, and he comes back to his father is so elated to see him that he greets him and he throws a party, inviting both sons to the party. But the son who stayed by his side is so resentful that he cannot bring himself to come to the party. This is where the scoffing begins. This is where the people who are listening to Jesus find themselves being pointed out in the parables as those people who don't want to hear what the message of the kingdom is. They want to hear, I'm all right the way I am, and don't tell me I have to change my behavior. He goes on, and he talks about another parable. He talks about a parable that he points in the direction of his disciples about how important it is to be shrewd, how important it is to be clever in this world.